Best Places to Work breakfast in person. I'm so excited to celebrate with all of you. It's a fabulous day and fabulous to see so many people in person. Let's figure this to work. Yes. Maybe.
Point it this way.
Okay, here we go. So, 2021. This is what we're talking about for the Best Places to Work Index. All of your teams were already operating in hard mode in 2021. We remember all of this, we all experienced it. But they still launched a massive vaccination campaign from coast to coast. They kicked off one of the most significant investments in our country that we've seen in our lifetimes from the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. And so much more that is on all of your minds. They did incredible work in a really hard time period. They, and all of you, did that as they worked on the COVID-19 front lines, as they coped with the shifting realities of Delta and Omicron, as they faced setbacks at home and crises in child care and caring for parents and so many other things, and grappled with returning to the office, an office that was, in a lot of ways, incredibly different than the office that they had left. We are here today to celebrate all of that incredible work, and also to recommit, as Max said, to learning and improving in this really dynamic moment. Because it is far more likely that the nation is going to be really well served when agencies are managed by so many people like you in this room, who are strong leaders that listen and take care of their employees on a day-to-day basis. And we have amazing models for all of that today. So, what is our workforce telling us? We have an incredibly rich body of data from our friends at OPM that Max mentioned, and a dozen other agencies who minister their own surveys. And we use that to develop the Best Places to Work Index score, which measures, just a quick reminder, employee engagement and satisfaction. What do we mean by that? Quick nerd out moment of definitions for a second. When we say engagement and satisfaction, we're referring to, let's get this right, the commitment of the workforce, their job and organizational satisfaction, and the willingness of employees to put forth discretionary effort to achieve results. So, bottom line, to better serve the American people, to do the jobs that we all signed up for. The FEBS was administered in November or December 2021. People will remember that time period. It seems about maybe a decade away. But there's still a lot of things going on right now that are relevant to that time period. We just, to refresh, because it has been a while, we saw infections from COVID go down for a brief time period. Telework was decreasing. People were starting to come back to the office nationwide. And then Omicron started dominating the headlines. Remember that? The federal pay raise that year was just 1%. By the end of the year, only 55% of the nominated political appointees put forward by the Biden administration had been confirmed. In other words, federal employees were dealing with a lot that year. I wanted to use the Bull Durham headline, but we're in public right now, so I won't do that. So, looking at our results, as Max said, the score Best Places this year is 64.5 out of 100, representing a 4.5 point decrease from 2020. But it is not impossible, so many examples of this, it is not impossible to lead and engage employees at this moment. When you look at every agency included in our analysis, 25 of them out of 71 showed improvements in employee engagement and satisfaction. So in this really tough time, they not only held steady, but they got better. And we're recognizing a lot of them here today. And they present a model and a roadmap for the federal leaders of what is working and how to create a rewarding and safe environment for the employee experience during this really volatile time. Key to their success, and I know you've heard this a million times, but it really does matter, key to their success is leadership. Leaders who provide their employees with the flexibility, support, and safety they're asking for. Leaders who listen, and leaders who tailor their strategies to reflect the diversity of the employee experience. So the rankings that we do, they just compare agencies in the federal government, as you all know, but as Max said, when you look at the private sector, and that's important to do because you're all competing for talent in a broader marketplace, they show measures of employee engagement and satisfaction that are almost 15 points higher than the federal government. So that's something that we all need to think about as we're thinking about the recruitment and retention and the options that federal employees have. But competing with the private sector is not impossible. Like, it sounds like it's going to be a problem, but it's not impossible because at least 12 agencies showed that they could do better than the private sector on this exact score. So not an impossible feat, definitely something that is doable for all agencies as you learn from one another. Looking closely, though, at the specific elements of the employee experience in 2021 really highlights how federal employees lived and worked through COVID-19 and the uncertainty of the return to the office. On the really positive side, something you should all be proud of, employees felt really well cared for and supported by their leaders and their supervisors when it came to their well-being during the pandemic, whether it be flexible work schedules, expanded leave policies, vaccine protocols, they really felt taken care of. But when it came to returning to that office, which I think we're still doing, what does that actually mean? We're still exploring that. They were less positive. I think reflecting a worry about the future and the long-term return to the office that we are, at least I am still experiencing, I'm sure many of you are as well. If you look, you can see how this stress intersects with a lot of other workplace issues I know that you're all familiar with. A lot of the issues on our minds day to day that federal employees are grappling with in this transition, whether it be work-life balance, as many made the transition from remote to hybrid to in-person work, ability to build on and institutionalize the really tremendous innovations of the last 2 years, and compensation and recognition for their amazing contributions in this incredibly challenging time. But a few important things that we can feel really positive about. Many of you saw the communication and health and safety challenges that came with returning to the office, and were able to create the safe, flexible, encouraging environment that federal employees needed, where they felt safe and they felt heard. And HHS, GSA, and the Department of Homeland Security Science and Tech team are great examples of that, and you guys are here today. Many of you are living the work-life balance challenges that all of your employees are experiencing every day, and developing tailored engagement strategies to make them feel as though their work and mission can go on in some way, and just as the PMA prioritizes. National Science Foundation, congrats to you guys who did amazing work on this, and Commerce did great work on this in the last year. And then lastly, a lot of you are going to the mat to recognize and reward the work of your star employees in this amazingly tough time. We launched several profiles today that give lessons from all of these agencies and show what can be done and how you can learn from one another in this time. And lastly, just as a new thing that we did this year, we looked at how employees are assessing the performance of their team and their agency. They are incredibly positive about that. They are stressed about many things. They are so positive about the work that they do and the impact that they have every day. Last profile that we issued this year is around leadership, and we do this a lot. And and we've showed that many agencies are successfully able to demonstrate leadership to a workforce that is incredibly hungry for it. The State Department, SAMHSA, and the Office of General Counsel, the Department of Education, great examples of this year. There are a ton of topics that influence how employees experience, impact the employee experience and impact their engagement and satisfaction. Every year, leadership is always at the top. Every year, employees are saying, this is what actually matters to us, the work that all of you are doing in this room. It's an incredibly tough time to be a leader, but given the impact that you can have in guiding this amazing workforce, it's such an incredibly rewarding one. Where are we? Oh, last thing I want to point out to you, this is a bit of a call for action for everyone. So, bit of a disappointment on this slide because one of the most important measures on this survey that we do every year is do employees believe that the actions, the responses, the input that they have on the survey is actually going to impact them? Does their voice matter? Are people listening to me? This score went down this year. It was the lowest score that we had on the survey overall. Employees are not feeling as heard as they would like to be. They would like to understand that their leadership is paying attention to the concerns they have and the stresses that they're feeling. The FEBS is in the field right now. It's closing in the next few days. You have a chance when you go home, to go back to your office, to remind everyone to respond, and that you are listening, you're paying attention, and their input is going to matter this year. And I know all of you are hearing that voice, but it's time to remind people that they have this opportunity. Last slide, and then I will get to the fun part of the day. We have so many resources available at bestplacestowwork.org to offer lessons, to offer guidance, to offer feedback and ideas around all the issues that we're talking about here today. I really encourage you to explore the rankings, nerd out on some data, and look at the examples of your peers. So the last thing I get to do, because I kind of begged for a favor here, is kick off the announcement of the large agency's top 5 and most improved. So I want to switch gears from the data nerd to the really excited celebrating all in the new mood. Next week, Major League Baseball will play its All-Star game, and today we have our All-Stars right here, getting back to my baseball analogies, and the leadoff agency is the Department of Veterans Affairs. VA. Self-evident mission. VA does amazing work around veterans, but just very quickly, the VA delivers healthcare to 9 million veterans around in its network. Assists veterans with all kinds of benefits like home loans and life insurance. Provides burial services at 150 cemeteries around the country. They had a score of 70.2, up 0.2 of a point, data nerd for a second, from 2020. And that may not seem like much, but it made all the difference because it was the only large agency to improve in this space in 2021. They were, as I said, they were the number 5 agency this year. Congratulations to VA. They are the most improved, and I am incredibly excited to introduce my former boss, Secretary Dennis McDonough, to come up and accept an award for this and make some remarks about their incredible success. Thank you all.